Let's see. Michel loses his little brother, but he returns in the body of a robot, seeing that humans spend their time lost in virtual worlds so as not to face their reality and that they hate robots. So in case you didn't see it or left it halfway, I'll tell you the electrical status. From Netflix, this story begins in 1990 when a girl named Michelle supports her genius brother who passes a very difficult exam and at his young age could get into college but doesn't feel prepared. Although Michelle convinces him that he can do it, the brother talks about a theory that particles can exceed physical limits through electricity, and we see that as the years passed, people began to despise the robots of the world as they rebelled against humans. We see robots even give speeches about freedom and how they are willing to fight for it, and even debate humans on the news about it. Robots of all sizes is revealed, and the conflict grows so much that the entire country has to fight against it. We see a scientist create a new technology to have robots that operate directly with the human mind, so that they can fight them on equal terms and manage to beat them. So the robots end up giving up. The scientist sells his products saying that by connecting to his technology they can have half of their brain working and the other on vacation. And we return to Michelle 4 years later, who lives with a gentleman who has half a brain talking to her through a robot and the other in a fun simulation. We see that this technology is even used in school and they are mandatory, although Michelle refuses to use it. Michel tells a teacher that he lost his entire family and she recommends that he use technology to distract himself and take his mind to relaxing places. But Michel remembers his brother and feels bad, so he better leave that night. Michel has a nightmare and when he wakes up he hears some noises, and when he goes out to investigate he sees that there is a robot. She tries to wake up the man who takes care of her, but she can't, and the robot enters the house where she is looking and already finds Michelle. However, it seems that the robot is harmless and just wants to show you something. This one shows him that he has a breakdown and Michelle helps him fix it. The robot takes a picture of her and her brother and with signs tells her that he is her brother. The Lord wakes up and gets mad at Michelle for having a robot in the house. She wants to make him see it's not her fault, but he gets angry and pushes her. The robot then goes against the Lord, and when he tries to call the police, Michelle knocks him out and escapes along with the robot. However, neither of them knows how to drive, and the Lord's robotic body shows up to chase them. They manage to escape him and arrive at a robotic waste base where Michelle demands answers on why he says he is her brother and with pure signs. He tells her that his real body is in a tech center and that the only one who knows the location is a doctor with glasses. They travel to look for him, and on the way they find a person who is lying on the street in order to have his mind lost in the virtual world. Then a trailer driver appears and they secretly watch as he reunites with the robotic body of a human to whom he sells robotic parts. This driver has a robot friend who can talk and helps him. With the sale, Michelle and her robot brother hide in their trailer and see that they have a warehouse with all kinds of domestic robots. Michelle and his brother try to go unnoticed, but they are detected, and when interrogating them, they tell him that they are going to a place called The Zone. The driver warns them that this place is dangerous, and everyone realizes that someone else has been following them, so they prepare for whatever comes. Then the robotic body of a guy named Marshall shows up, who is in charge of taking out all kinds of robots. He comes looking for Mikkel because of what he did to the previous man and for being in possession of a robot. They have a fight against him, and so that they don't hurt the driver, Mitchell ends up turning himself in. The enemy wants to kill his brother. No, but Michelle doesn't allow it, and the driver's robot ends up crushing and stopping the enemy, buying time before they manage to escape. However, they don't get very far, and Marshall is about to finish off the little brother, but together they manage to stop him. The warehouse ends up underground, so the driver is furious. They are trapped in a field filled with bits of robots and scrap metal scavengers who attack each other to survive, the driver and his robot. They have a giant body for the latter, which they fight as a vehicle, and on the way talk about dads. Mitchell says he lost his people, and the driver implies that his people let him down. The driver also says that he met his robot friend while humans were fighting robots, but that they helped each other when the others hated each other. While we see that the scientist who created the technology lives in a fantasy in which he lives with his mother, but this technology has defects and ends up being frustrated. We see that he is the one who has Michel's brother trapped, and some of his workers explain to him that his mind escaped through electricity. So the scientist and Marshall get together and agree to catch Michel and his robot. The scientist offers her resources in exchange for finding Mikkel's brother, and they come to an agreement. For their part, Mikkel and the others approach the area, but on the way they are attacked by some scavenger robots, who end up catching them and taking them hostage. These robots take them to an entertainment robot center where everyone is impressed by having humans in their home. There they meet with the leader of the robot revolution, realizing that they are not actually scrap metal workers, but harmless robots defending themselves from being used as food. Michelle realizes that she is looking for a doctor with lenses, and the robot leader offers them food. The robot leader says that all humans are selfish and lazy, so Michelle gets angry and wants to continue with his quest. However, it is night and her friends convince her that it is dangerous to go out at that time. Michel has memories of when he lived with his little brother and spent Christmas with him watching cartoons. His little brother, now robot, seems to guess this and has cartoons for them to watch together as well. In the middle of the night, a robot delivers them a letter that the lens doctor left there for Michel's little brother in case he ever gets there, in which he gives them directions on how to find him, for which they have to enter the junk robot terrain. So the robot leader and a baseball robot offer to help them get through. They all travel together to said place where they are attacked by the scrap metal and end up finding the glasses doctor, who explains to them that they needed his brother's brain to be able to beat the revolutionary robots in the past. Marshall's robotic body appears in that, so they have to face him again. However, this time he brings many allies with him, the baseball robot. He kills several of them and they have to face everyone else. In the middle of the battle, they feint the leader of the robots and also take down the doctor, after which they manage to take over Mikkel's little brother and warn her to return home. The others discover that the harmless robot entertainment center has been destroyed. Meanwhile, Marshall realizes that the scientist sent him to find the mind of a real child and not a robot, so he feels betrayed. The scientist tells him that that mind is necessary to continue advancing in the creation of virtual worlds, to make it a reality for the most enjoyable people, like his own, since his mother was horrible to him, but in the virtual world, she is good. Michael regrets losing her brother a second time, and the driver says he is willing to help her get him back. A Red who explains to them that all the robotic bodies of humans and their virtual worlds are released in his brother's mind. He'll fall. So everyone agrees to do it with rock music at full volume. They appear to attack the scientist's facilities, although he laughs because he believes they have no chance against them. The confrontation between robots begins as Michel tries to quietly infiltrate the building. The driver and his robot friend fight hand to hand, as do the rest of the entertainment robots, among which is one giant. The pitched fight between robots begins to get even, so the scientist gets nervous and seems to have a second plan in hand. Michelle is getting closer and closer to her brother, but she is only accompanied by a friendly robot that is very slow and barely manages to scare the doctors taking care of Michel's little brother's body. The robot explains to him that the only way to get him out of there is to go directly into his mind. On the battlefield, the scientist uses his own robotic body, super well put together, to start taking down all the entertainment robots. Meanwhile, Marshall talks to the leader of the robots and gives him information to help them achieve their mission, saying that he witnessed how the scientist was less human than a robot. Meanwhile, Michel enters the mind of his brother. who is in a Christmas memory. However, his brother says that he does not want to free himself, but rather wants to be disconnected, because he knows that in the real world his body is very emaciated and that they could also catch him again and use his mind to put everyone in virtual fantasies that are not good for anyone. The leader of the robots, thanks to Marshall's information, manages to find the scientist's physical body and threatens him to renegotiate. For his part, the driver loses his robot friend to an enemy attack, Michelle. He wants to convince her brother to go with her, but he tells her he's lived enough, so they say goodbye and Michelle returns to the real world, where she makes the difficult decision to disconnect her brother. In doing so, all the human-controlled robots disconnect as well. So the driver and his companions celebrate while the scientist rages. However, the driver is still sad because his friend is no longer there. However, he realizes that he is still alive. In a small version in his head, the news of what the scientist did to Michelle's little brother rebels around the world, so everyone hates him and his inventions. Michelle records a video explaining that virtual worlds did harm to humanity and that they can live in peace with robots, while we see that apparently her little brother's mind survived inside the robotic body. This was the summary of the electric state. If you liked the video, please leave a like and comment that you are okay. See you later.